They say Mami Wata sits on top of rocks by the waterside. If you see her and she has interest in you, you will see her again and again. If she has interest to truly help you, to give you money, she will visit you in your dreams, and together you must make a certain pact. But if you ever break it, the sea will remember, and when the sea remembers, it takes everything. The story I am about to tell you is real. It happened when the coast of what is now southern Nigeria was still thick with forests. There was a fishing village called Igbo, built on the edge of the great river that ran to the sea. The people of Igbo lived by the water, and everything they owned came from it: their food, their wealth, and even their faith. At dawn, the women sang by the river as they washed, and at dusk, the men paddled their canoes home, their nets heavy with fish. The elders warned the younger ones never to mock the spirits of the deep. The water has ears, they said. It listens and it answers, but men grow careless when the river keeps feeding them. The more the tide brought in fish and trade, the less they remembered the rules. One of them was Obaifo, a strong fisherman with a temper as restless as the tide. He was proud and laughed at anything he did not understand. "If Mami Wata wants to take me," he once said loudly at the village square, "let her come and carry me herself. I will not run." The crowd had laughed, but an old woman by the shrine had shaken her head and whispered, "He has called his own name into the water." That night, Obaifo went to fish alone. The moon was full and the river shone like a path of silver. He threw his net once, twice, and on the third throw, he saw movement on the rocks. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light, then she moved. A woman sat there, brushing her long black hair that fell like a veil over her bare shoulders. The moonlight clung to her skin. It shimmered like something not meant for mortal eyes. Her eyes met his, deep, green, and endless. She smiled, and every warning he'd heard about spirits dissolved from his mind. She spoke softly, her voice carrying over the water like a song. "Fisherman," she said, "why do you fish alone?" He could barely answer. "The river feeds me," he said. "The river feeds only those who honor it," she replied. "Would you honor me if I fed you beyond measure?" He nodded, trembling. "Yes." "Then listen," she said, and her eyes glowed faintly blue. "You will be rich. Your nets will never empty. You will own more than any man of Igbo. But you must come to me when the moon is full every 7th night. You must bring offerings, and you must not speak of me to any soul." Before he could reply, she slipped into the water. A flash of silver tail followed her, and then she was gone. When Obaifo woke up the next morning, he was lying by the river bank. His canoe was full of golden fish, unlike any he had ever caught. He sold them in the market and returned with cowries enough to rebuild his father's house. By the next moon, he was the wealthiest man in the village. The people whispered. Some said he had found the spirit's favor, others said he had discovered a hidden gold mine near the mangroves. But Obaifo said nothing. Every 7th night, he went alone to the river with a jar of palm wine, some coral beads, and a white cock. No one dared follow him. Then his wife, Ejiro, began to wonder. He had grown distant, his eyes always half lost in thought. One night, when he slipped out with his lantern, she followed quietly through the tall grass. The river was still, the moon round and white. Ejiro hid behind a palm tree and watched as Obaifo knelt by the bank. The water began to glow. From it rose the same woman, beautiful beyond reason. Her waist wrapped in shimmering cloth, her hair flowing as though it were alive. Ejiro's breath caught. The woman placed her hand on Obaifo's head and kissed him. "Do not forget our bond," she said. "The wealth I give comes with my name upon it. Break it and you will drown even on dry land." Ejiro gasped. The spirit turned. For one brief second, those green eyes met hers. The wind howled through the trees and the lantern went out. Obaifo turned and saw his wife frozen in fear. "Ejiro," he shouted. But when he looked back at the river, the woman was gone. Only ripples remained. That night, thunder rolled without rain. The dogs barked all through the dark hours. At dawn, the river was littered with dead fish. The air smelled of rot. Children woke coughing as if they had swallowed water in their sleep. The elders gathered at the shrine and one of them said, "A promise has been broken." Obaifo went there sweating. He tried to speak, but his tongue felt heavy. The priest threw cowries on the mat and each one landed face down. "The sea is angry," he said. "Someone has taken what was not his to take." That evening, Obaifo went back to the river to beg. "Great mother, forgive me," he said. The water stayed silent. He poured wine into it, but the ripples moved away from his hand as though rejecting him. Behind him, he heard a voice, not the spirit's, but his wife's. "Who is she, Obaifo?" He turned. Ejiro's eyes were wet. "Tell me the truth," she said. He wanted to confess, but shame choked him. "It was nothing," he said. "A dream, only a dream." The river behind them began to hiss. That night, Ejiro disappeared. Her clothes were found by the shore, her footprints ending where the water began. Obaifo searched for her for 3 days, calling her name until his voice broke. On the 4th day, he heard her laughter coming from beneath the river's surface. Soft, strange, not quite human. After that, Idu began to die. Crops withered, though the soil was wet. Nets came up empty. The river rose higher each week, creeping into the streets. People started to leave, but those who stayed said they heard singing at night. Women's voices, sweet and distant, calling names of the living. When a child answered one of those calls, she was found the next morning, floating in the shallows, her skin pale as a fish's belly. The priests tried sacrifices, goats, even a cow, nothing worked. One of them cried out. The covenant was sealed in secret. Only the one who made it can undo it. So Obaifo went, silent. He knew what he had to do. He took his son to the river with him. Oziembe, a boy barely 4. He knelt at the edge of the bank. "Please, Mother of Wata'S," he said, "take me. Spare my people." The river glimmered faintly. A woman's hand rose from it, slender and cold. "You cannot offer what is already mine," she said. The hand touched his son's cheek. Obaifo screamed and lunged forward, but the boy slipped from his grasp, drawn down into the water as though pulled by invisible ropes. The river closed over him without a splash. The next morning, the village woke to silence. The huts stood empty, the canoes drifted unmanned. Where Idu had been, there was only water. Fishermen from other towns said they saw strange things in that place. Gold coins lying under the clear shallows, necklaces made of coral hanging from trees. Sometimes they saw a woman sitting on a rock, combing her hair. Behind her, shapes moved, men, women, even children. Faces faint and shining, watching the shore. They say those are the people of Idu, the cursed ones. And still the story goes. When the moon is full and the tide is high, Mami Wata sits upon her rock, smiling at the world that never learns. Her song drifts across the water, soft as wind, beautiful enough to break your heart. If you ever hear it, don't look. If you dream of her 3 nights in a row, don't tell anyone, because once the sea remembers your name, it never forgets.